Now it's time to talk about Bootstrap. And Bootstrap is a CSS framework that allows you to style your website in a lot of different ways. And if you go to getbootstrap.com, this is where it is. Now this is not a Ruby on Rails thing. This is a internet thing. This works for PHP sites, it works for HTML sites, it works for JavaScript sites, it works for Ruby on Rails sites. You'll install it slightly differently depending on how you're using it. We're using it for Ruby on Rails, so in our case we're going to use the Ruby gem for Bootstrap, because whenever we add anything to our Rails apps, we add them by adding gems. So let's just really quickly kind of look at this here. You can see, you click on components. This is a list of all the different things you can use. You can add these little glyphicons, a Jumbotron, this big box thing. We'll add one of those. Labels, pagination, you want to add these little things at the bottom of your pages. And to use any of these things on here, all you have to do is copy the code, paste it into your project, bang zoom, you're done. So it's really, really awesome and very, very powerful. And this used to be, a couple of guys from Twitter made this. It used to be called Twitter Bootstrap. But then they spun it off of Twitter and those guys quit, and now I think they just work on this full time. But you can see, like, there's buttons. You can add these different buttons by just copy and pasting these things into your web app. So let's go ahead and add this to our app. How do we do that? Well, we need to go to rubygems.org, and we're going to be spending a lot of time here over the years into the future. So sort of get used to this website. So I'm going to type in bootstrap-sass. That's the name of the Bootstrap gem. And I can search for it. Whoops. There we go. Search for it. And here we see Bootstrap Sash version 3.3.1.0. So here is the gem file line. We can click here to copy that, and let's just open up our gem file and just paste in that line and save it. Now let's look at this real quick here. Gemstrap, the name of it, bootstrap.sass, and then we have this little squiggly line and a little tilde thing here, an arrow, and it's saying 3.3.1.0. What does that mean? Well, that means we can use any version of Bootstrap 3.3.10 up to version 4. That's what this little squiggly line means, right? And that's important because over the years they update these things, and you know, a year and a half from now they'll be on version 4.6.4 or whatever. Well, that version might not work with our website, right? Because they might have changed it. So we want to make sure we can use all the little minor versions, 3.3.1, 3.3.2, 3.3.3 into the future. But once they make a major version upgrade up to the next full letter, you know, up to letter version 4, we don't want to use that one anymore. So that's what this little tilde thing says. So save that. Now, whenever we add any kind of gem to our gem file, we need to come down here and run bundle install. Very important. And so that installs the gem, and it's usually a good idea to close your web server and restart it. So I'll close that and restart that. So a lot of times that's all you need to do, but sometimes there's more instructions, there's more things you need to do to install the gem, and that's the case this time as well. So we can come down here to the documentation, and you're going to do this a lot. Check out the documentation. So this tells us how to install the thing. It's suggesting that we add this thing too. I don't really know what that is, so I'm going to ignore it. It's telling us to run bundle install, restart our server. Okay, we just did that. Now it's saying we need to create this file and add these lines to it. So I'm going to copy these lines and head back to our app. And if you check out the app assets folder, you'll see 3 directories. This is a directory for adding images to your app. This is one for adding JavaScript, and this is one for adding style sheets. Now, Bootstrap is a style sheet, basically, right? So we need to add a style sheet for Bootstrap. So I'm going to right-click on here, click New File, and let's call this thing bootstraply.css.scss. So why.css.scss? Because it's the same as this one here. That's sort of the convention. So let's open this sucker, and it wants us to add these 2 lines, so that's fine. Save that and delete it. Now there's one more thing. In fact, I don't think Yes, it's saying right here to add this. We need to add this reference to JavaScript. Bootstrap uses JavaScript for certain things like drop-down menus and button rollovers and things like that. So copy this. It's saying you need both of these, but our app already has jQuery. So head back here, and just like in the style sheet section, now we go up to the JavaScript section. Click the home, application.js. You can see here that line, the jQuery line, is already there. Underneath the turbo links, I'm just going to paste in Bootstrap, and for good measures, I'm also just going to say require Bootstrap. Save this. Now look, notice this thing right here real quickly, require tree dot. This is saying basically require all the other files that are in this directory. And you'll see the same thing here for the style sheet, this require tree. And that's what sucks these files, especially this Bootstrap file that we just created, into our app, and it outputs them on our views, layouts, application, right up here in these tags right here. Style sheets, JavaScript. See what we're doing here? And this adds them to every page of our website, because this stuff here gets added to our about page, our index page, any page that we have. So we've added all this stuff, we saved the files. Let's head back over to our app and hit reload, and look at this. Bang zoom. Now suddenly everything looks a little bit different. Everything's slightly different. The text color for the links are different. The font is a little different. Everything's smushed together. That means Bootstrap has been properly installed, and we are ready to go. So the first thing you need to do, everything's all smushed up against the side of the screen here. So we need to go into our apps, let's close some of these, apps, views, layouts, application folder. This is our application folder, and we need to wrap this yield in a div. So type in div class equals container. This is just a Bootstrap sort of thing. And let's indent that so we know. Okay, so if we save that, come back and hit reload, boom, it pops that over and it gives us a little gutter on each side. The same thing that's happening over here, you just can't tell because we only have this much text. So that's one thing you always want to sort of do, at least I usually do. So now we have these links at the top. What would be a good thing to do here? Well, I think maybe a navbar. Navbar is very popular. They're on every website you can imagine, just like right here. This is a navbar. We want something like that for ours. So I'm going to go to getbootstrap.com and I'm going to hit components. And I'm going to look through here, navbar. There we go. So this is looking pretty good. I like this navbar right here. It's the basic navbar. So here's the text we need, right? So you can click copy and copy that. Now what we would do is we want this to appear on every one of our pages, so we would post this on our application.html.erb thing right where these links are, right? But that's a lot of text. Look at all this text. That's a lot of stuff. And that's going to make our application file look very unruly, and we want to keep this file as simple as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new file in the home directory, and I'm going to call this underscore header.html.erb. And this underscore is important, and I'll show you why in just a second. But first I'm going to head back here, get this, copy this text for the navigation bar, and I'm going to just paste it in there and save this file. Now let's talk about this underscore. The underscore is what Rails uses. It's something called a partial, and it allows you to add files, add stuff from one file into another file. So to do that, we use some embedded Ruby. We type ... render home header. Oops. Close it as always. Now it's saying to look in the home directory and render any partial named header. It knows to look for the underscore. Alright. So if we save this and click reload, boom, we've got this nav bar all of a sudden. We still got our links here, so we need to fix this up a little bit. So let's do that now. First things first, I don't want all this stuff up here. I just want links over here. Right. So let's go to our header. Actually, first I'm going to copy these. No, let's leave them there for now. First, let's clean up this nav bar. Now this seems like a lot of text, but this is just basic HTML text here. And we can kind of look through here and start to decipher it. See, right here we see this brand, and if we look on our page, that's this thing right here, right? So let's change that to Pinterested and save, hit reload, and boom, just like that. So now let's get rid of these links in this drop down thing. So right below the Pinterested, you can see here's the link. Drop down, drop down, drop down. Let's delete that. Li drop down, drop down. Okay. And you can sort of see how these correspond. This is an opening tag. This is a closing tag. Here's an opening link. There's a closing link. So we can just delete all this, save it, and see what we got. Okay, so those links are gone. Now we've got this search thing, right? I don't want that either, so let's get rid of that. So we look through here. Here's the search, form class, navbar search, submit button, form. Okay, so save that, hit reload. Okay, so now it's starting to come together. Now we just need to deal with these two. And first I'm going to get rid of the drop down. So here's the drop down. If we click on it here, we can see this one highlights here. This is the opening one, this is the closing one. So I can just delete all those and hit save. Okay, so now we just have one link left. So now I can go back to my application and I can copy these, delete them from there, save that file, and I can head back up to my header partial, and here's where that link is. So I'll just paste ours in, and you can see our link looks a little bit different than this one because it has this li. It means list element. So let's put that there and close, paste, delete this guy, save, and boom, here we are. Home, about, home, about. Alright, starting to come together. Now this is all smooshed over again on the side, so we can change that by looking at here, this container at the top of our header file. It says container-fluid. Let's just take off the fluid, save, reload, and now that should add, see, now it sort of lines up better. Okay. Alright, so far so good. We've got our header, we've got our partial. Now let's change around the home page a little bit. Let's add a Jumbotron right here. I like the Jumbotron. Everybody likes the Jumbotron, so I'm going to go back to Get Bootstrap Components. Kind of look down here for the Jumbotron, and here's the stuff we need, right? Div class Jumbotron. So I'll just copy that, head on over to our index page, and just wrap all of this in a div. Just tab that over and hit save, reload, boom, now we've got a Jumbotron. That's kind of cool. What else could we do? Let's add a couple of buttons here. So let's say back here and go to the CSS section, find the buttons, the default button and the primary button. Let's go with the primary button. No, actually, let's go with the default button. Copy this, and paste that in there, and let's say login. And let's grab a primary button too. That's this one right here. And let's call this one join. If we save this, we have these buttons, but they don't do anything, right? So just like that, we've added these cool looking buttons. But just like links, Rails handles buttons a little bit different as well. We can use some embedded Ruby for that. So let's try that. So basically these are still links. They're just in the form of a button. So we type in our link _2, and we want to call this login. And since we don't have a path yet to log in anywhere, I'm just going to call this the root path for now. Now, how this differs from a regular link is we add a comma here, and then we type in class, and then let's close our Ruby. So here you see this class btn default. That's what you type in right there. Okay. So that's this one. Let's make another one for the join, but instead of button default, we're going to type in button primary. Save. Reload. And now these two go. Now we have buttons that work. Well, they will as soon as we add the path in just a little bit here. So here we are right now. We've installed Bootstrap. Things are looking a little bit better. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to start styling Bootstrap, because this is just sort of bland gray. You know, the buttons are this color. We can modify this, and I'll show you how to do that in the next video.